Very good evening to everyone. Hari Om. This beautiful ninth day of Kindle Life continues, and let us begin with our prayers today.
समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम Gurudev has pointed to the most important aspect of the entire human intellect evolution in the last chapter. He said the history of the evolution of human intellect passes through four distinct stages, culminating in perfection, which our religious masters attained. Philosophy and religion fall into this fourth category. It is far ahead of all scientific knowledge known to humankind. So the evolution of intellect has four stages. The first stage, as Gurudev has pointed out, is the stage of perception, where things are just perceived as they are, how they are. There is no deeper thought behind it. The second stage or the age of observation comes, and that is where superstition takes place. Because there is some observation happening. Okay, oh yes, I have seen that 5 times when this cat went across the road, my work didn't happen. Superstition. There was no scientific inquiry why anything of these two are related or not. Then came the age of scientific inquiry, whereby human intellect started wondering at the laws and finding out these different laws. These intellectual people, whether they be scientists, mathematicians, as Gurudev said, politicians, very important. These people of thought, they pursued and made life easy for humans. And a point in time came when they started reflecting from the outer world to the inner world. Means from being objective, they started being subjective. This transformation from objective knowledge to subjective focus is called the age of contemplation. I'll take one more minute. Now think carefully at our own life. When we speak, when Gurudev says human intellect, who is a human? Whom is he talking about? He's talking about me. He's talking about you. He's talking about us. When, as little children, do we have any observation or any scientific knowledge? No, we just react. When something put in the mouth, if it is agreeable, we take it. If it is not agreeable, we throw it out. At the next level, then you start observing the fan going round, the light being bright, sparks happening, night stars. You get fascinated with this. You start observing consciously. But the next level comes where you start studying about things, finding about things, and knowing about the laws. This is the stage which we all are in right now. All, the entire world. Virle virle, as it is called. Very few who will put their mind further to it, their intellect sharpened, who would turn towards the subjective world and become contemplative. It is a very, very important chapter. Actually, would you take us further?
Yes. Since we are on this topic, in chapter number 15, if you have your books with you also, I think what Jagdish said so beautiful and so relevant right now. Something I would like you to connect with. The history of evolution of human intellect passes through 4 distinct stages culminating in perfection, which our religious masters attained. Philosophy and religion relate to the 4th and the final stage of intellectual development, which is far ahead of all scientific knowledge known to mankind. It should therefore be quite clear from the foregoing that philosophy and religion are far ahead of science and its proud discoveries, and those who treat them as ancient and old-fashioned have failed to understand their place and significance in the history of human development. Not knowing this truth, man scoffed at and rejected religion as antiquated and behind the times. Consequently, the progress of human evolution was arrested, leading to stagnation and general decadence that the world suffers today. What truer words can there be than this? So this was chapter number 15. Let us also see some of the word meanings which we missed out yesterday in chapter number 15. Decadence means moral or cultural decline. A phenomena, that which happens or occurrence. Perceived is saw, what you saw. Now again, I would just like to point out certain sentences over here. Ponder upon this, that men of contemplation were not content with the mechanical discoveries of the laws, but endeavored to understand and discover the lawgiver, the controller, and regulator of all laws. So which went beyond the objective and began with the subjective. So let us continue our further reading. The next chapter, chapter number 16. What is religion? True religion possesses 2 important limbs, namely, its philosophy and its ritualistic injunctions. Mere ritualism, bereft of philosophy, is only superstition, while bare philosophy without ritualistic practices is tantamount to madness. Both the aspects must go hand in hand. Philosophy reinforces the external practice of ritual and gives them a purpose and goal for realization. Together, they bring out the meaning, significance, and purpose of religion. Philosophy is the theoretical aspect of religion, which, with scientific and rational analysis, elucidates the why and the wherefore of life and the universe, contains a coherent system of thought for interpreting the reality. The ritualistic injunctions deal with the practical aspect of religion and lay down the spiritual practices to be followed for reaching the ultimate goal in life. Religion, therefore, is a happy and intelligent blending of philosophy and ritualism. If the 2 aspects are not synchronized properly, there can be no religion. Unfortunately, however, man commits the blunder of projecting only one of these two aspects and calls it religion, and attributes its decadence and failure to religion as such. True religion, in fact, knows no failure. Ritualism here does not mean mere physical performance of ceremonies, but also embraces all modes of practical religion, applicable to mental and intellectual levels of our personality. It therefore includes rites, ceremonies, and duties practiced externally, devotion or bhakti cultivated by the mind, and subtle discrimination and meditation undertaken by the intellect. When man endeavors to translate the high philosophy, values, and virtues of life to practical living, he encounters several difficulties, which has caused religion to sink into oblivion. These values are opposed to and come in conflict with man's extrovert nature. This constitutes one of the main obstacles. An unintelligent and abrupt denial of sensual pleasures and a blind following of spiritual values results in suppression in an individual, and this suppression for a period of time leads into bitterness, frustration, and cynicism in life. If, however, one chooses the other alternative and continues indulgence in sensual pleasure, the senses being so strong and overpowering, pull him into the abyss of carnality and animalism, and any attempt thereafter to live a spiritual life will be next to impossible. The religious masters arrived at a solution of the problem by prescribing an intelligent formula by which a man could sublimate to a higher spiritual living. They held that sorry, they held that physical indulgence might be well regulated but not denied to the extent of causing suppressions and frustrations. There must be a basic and initial self control based on an intelligent appreciation of the philosophy underlying it. To the extent an individual regulates his sense indulgence, to that extent he must acquire the intellectual education of the higher values of life and consequent understanding of the futility of such indulgences. Conversely, to the extent he apprehends and digests the higher and nobler ideas governing life, he can afford to live self restrained. Thus, by a mutual intelligent adjustment of study and application, man can sublimate and reach the peak of perfection and bliss. It therefore becomes imperative for us to carefully regulate the doses of philosophical study and ritualistic practice. Mere performance of rituals without understanding their meaning and significance is superstitious living, which, when prolonged, distorts our personality. On the other hand, learning the entire philosophy and keeping the knowledge to ourselves is to be like a donkey carrying gold on its back. Hence, let us take the valuable advice of our rishis and try to be religious in the true sense of the term. Personally, I have never heard such a wonderful description or understanding of what religion was or is. How distorted a view we have always had of religion, and how simply and beautifully Gurudev explains that religion has two limbs. One is philosophy and the other is a ritual practice. Both balance each other out as long as you understand the meaning
Correct.
of what you are doing in terms of ritualism also, which is more external. Philosophy is of the mind and intellect to understand, while ritual is that of the body, of the physical
Yes.
to do. But both are required.
just like it has been explained in the previous chapter, that there are three aspects. One is brahmacharya. So that is a physical control. Physical, you have to hold yourself together. That discipline of the physical. Ritualism is discipline of the physical.
Yes, yes, it is very much. It is also a physical discipline. Certain things have to be done in a certain manner, and there is meaning behind it. And that meaning needs to be understood so that it does not fall into the category of being a superstition. It has so clearly been said in chapter number 16. If we just go to certain paragraphs in chapter number 16, if you see paragraph number 2, if you have the book, whereby I have purposely marked these sentences, that ritualism here does not mean mere physical performance of ceremony, but also embraces all modes of practical religion applicable to mental and intellectual levels of our personality. It therefore includes the rites, ceremonies, and duties practiced externally, devotion or bhakti cultivated by the mind, and subtle discrimination and meditation undertaken by the intellect.
It is amply clear. Gurudev, in his own words, have explained to us so beautifully that ritualism in religion is a limb which is very important. It can't be cut and removed away. And the reason is also given over here. The physical performance of ceremonies, but also embraces all modes of practical religion. Now, what is the meaning of practical religion over here? Practical religion means this, that you have to curtail your extrovertedness.
This has also been beautifully explained in this paragraph, where we must have definitely seen some people around us, and at times we may have touched upon or also fallen into that category and thankfully pulled back, is that an unintelligent and abrupt denial of sensual pleasures and a blind following of spiritual values results in suppression in an individual. And this suppression for a period of time leads into bitterness, frustration, and cynicism in life. So, being that orthodox or saying, no, I will do this, say, ritualism only, ritualism alone, and nothing else without its understanding, just because I'm following some blind belief, it will ultimately definitely lead to suppression and then frustration and having a very cynical approach towards life, which is unhealthy.
For that, I would like to give an example. We all Indians, mainly Hindus, have heard this, what I'm about to say. Ek daridra brahman tha. How many stories have started like this?
Yes.
There was a poor Brahman. The story starts like that. Now the question is, why should a learned Brahman should be a poor or a daridra person? This is because of misunderstanding. We have studied, by the grace of Gurudev and our Guruji, the Upanishadic texts where we have been explained and we have been made to take this vow that we will not allow daridra to come to us.
Yes.
We will not allow poverty to come to us. We will not allow that we become a burden on the society. Then where does these stories come from? From this unintelligent and abrupt denial of sensual pleasures. Food is a necessity. But having 7-course meal
Is not required.
is not required.
Yes, that also it continues over here. That if, however, one chooses the other alternative and continues indulgence in sensual pleasures, the senses are so strong and overpowering, continuously going outside, looking at this, looking at that, smelling this, wanting that. that this overpowering senses will pull him down into the abyss of carnality and animalism, and any attempt thereafter to lead a spiritual life will be next to impossible. And for this problem also, the scriptures have never left us at a problem. They have always given us practical solutions to follow, which are honestly extremely easy if understood properly. And there they have given an intelligent formula by which a man could sublimate to a higher spiritual living. They held that physical indulgence might be well regulated, but not denied to the extent of causing suppressions and frustrations. There must be a basic and initial self control based on an intelligent appreciation of the philosophy underlying it, which we have already seen in the previous chapters of how to restrain ourselves. To To the extent an individual regulates his sense indulgence, to that extent he must acquire the intellectual education of the higher values of life and consequent understanding of the futility of such indulgence. Overindulgence leads to nothing good. And once our intellect has understood this theory, we will realize also the futility of overindulgence.
Yeah, of course. So, Rajshri, does the text mean to tell us that a human being, if he understands intellectually that something is not good for him, he will never do it? So, in that case, how many of us know that smoking, drinking, or overeating is not good for us? Physically, we know, mentally, we know, intellectually, we know. Then, how is that we are not able to control? Because of the second statement which is made over here. May I just get your attention once again? To the extent an individual regulates his sense indulgences, to that extent मैंने अभी कंट्रोल किया है खाना. Now खाना क्यों कंट्रोल करना है उसका रीजन दिया. To that extent he must acquire the intellectual education of higher values. That means I should also understand by controlling my food what is scientifically happening to my body, how my digestion is getting better, and when food is digested well, it goes to my entire body as energy, as liveliness. However, it doesn't stop there. And consequently, understanding the futility of such indulgence. What we forget to do is, we do not forget the craze of the food that we had before. We have to understand that yes, that overeating was futile, useless. Instead, now that I have understood that little eating and understanding why that little eating is important, you will go through life happily. Otherwise, how many times we have heard people speaking, I used to smoke like this, now I don't smoke. Those were the days I used to smoke five packets. Why is he remembering that? Because in his heart of heart, he still feels that was pleasure, that was happiness.
So that is what was suppression and not
Sublimation.
And suppression may rise up again and again
It will.
by frustration or cynicism, or just simply I feel like, which we have seen earlier. So it is only when you intellectually understand what is good and what is shreyas and what is prayers. So all of this connects to each other, and what it does is it raises us higher and higher, or evolves us, as we have seen the evolution of mankind in different stages, and which takes us to the fourth stage of evolution, which is the highest stage. And for this, how religion and the spiritual books guide us, provided we understand what is religion correctly. Many a times we blame religion or religious practices, and here that is something I would like you to once again see in this particular chapter. The last paragraph, please. It therefore becomes imperative for us to carefully regulate the doses of philosophical study and ritualistic practice. They go hand in hand. Both are required for a good balance. Mere performances of rituals, excuse me, without understanding their meaning and significance is superstitious living, which, when prolonged, distorts our personality. On the other hand, learning the entire philosophy and keeping the knowledge to ourselves is to be like a donkey carrying gold on its back. So both the things have to be practiced. Hence, let us take the valuable advice of our rishis and try to be religious in the true sense of the term. So let us now go to chapter number 16 and see some of the word meanings that we have over here.
Yes.
Normally, I always have the word meanings in the order of reading. Injunctions, order ordained by the scriptures, bereft, lacking or devoid, elucidates, explains, coherent means logical, abyss of carnality, I have taken it together, extreme sensual and sexual indulgence. Imperative is crucial or most important.
Crucial.
To know this, philosophy reinforces the external practices of ritual and gives them a purpose and a goal for realization.
This is
There is one homework, this is to know.
Okay, wonder. Okay.
Something to know
No,
about
okay.
it. And there is one homework I'm going to give you for the first time today. Very interesting. Please discuss. Try to be religious in the true sense of the term. What do you think this means? What have you now understood as religion? Or what do you think is the true meaning of religion? Please discuss it with your partner, your spouse, your family, friends, whoever you can. And now that we have understood or been explained something about what really religion means, now what is our attitude? What do we think about it? Can we go ahead and practice this? Will we evolve? I'm sure we all will on this journey and trip together. Yes.
I want to just sum these two chapters, the 16th and the 15th, because they are actually linked.
Yes, they are very much very linked. Yes.
Chapter 15 and 16 summing up together, starting with 16. In the 16th chapter, what is religion? Here, Gurudev has actually busted so many myths about religion.
Very true.
He has very clearly said that religion is of two limbs. Just like two hands, when both the hands work together, perfection can be achieved. If one hand is tied behind the back, one hand cannot work. So you can't say you are doing perfection. Similarly, if people are only following logic, philosophy, the example is beautiful. Like 100 kg gold on the back of a donkey. Means what? On the back of a donkey, whether it is 100 kgs of gold or 100 kgs of stone, to the donkey it doesn't make any difference. Also, that with so much of philosophical knowledge, if that knowledge does not find the path, way to go outside and spread, to share,
To realize itself.
then what will happen? It will become a burden on your heart and you will sink with the weight. Therefore, he has said to this extent that those who only go behind philosophy and knowledge, they tend to mount to madness. On the other hand, he has explained so beautifully that religious karmas are not to be done unthinkingly. They have to be thought properly in connection with the philosophy and then perform.
The enhanced bhakti.
Once that is done, bhakti comes, means you come one step inner. You are one step closer to the self. Coming to the 15th chapter, remember the 3 steps, brahmacharya. The second one being having control of anger. So no hinsa, ahimsa, physical, mental or any, but ahimsa at the mental level. And finally, truthfulness, being honest. When you try and practice these 3, slowly you start practicing what religion is all about. How beautiful.
How beautiful. One last ending to this particular topic. Our Gurudev, Swami Chinmayanand, has said this: every one of us may not be able to at once achieve the infinite expansion of the universal oneness, but we are all trying. Religion's task is to help us in gradually achieving this elevated vision, to lift the limited and selfish human being from his passion, greed, and hatred to this loftier vision of the world is the essential ideal of religion. So this is what religion is.
So high ideals.
It is meant for our full upliftment and realization. On these beautiful thoughts, let us end today's lecture and look forward to tomorrow beautiful subjects with a prayer.
Thank you, Gurudev. Asito ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityormamrutam gamaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shantihi 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.
Hari Om to all.
Hari Om.